Hello, it's Wednesday. We're back here on a Wednesday. Disney
I know,
Plus.
it feels good.
Yeah. You know, it's very considerate of Disney Plus to not have their shows airing on the exact same day.
Yes.
For a change.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that.
I do like that. Now, it's the adjustment of like, okay, we're going to have a few weeks here of this, not literal day overlap, but, we do have a few weeks of Star Wars and MCU content coming at us very regularly.
Yes.
A lot of midnight TV viewing midweek now.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're getting Daredevil tonight, so I'll probably stay up at midnight to watch that.
There was certainly a big tease last week. Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about Hornhead. That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow. We're going to talk about Andor, the new Star Wars series that is now debuted on Disney Plus. 3 episodes. 3 at once. So we're going to talk about all 3 of those episodes. Full spoilers. We're going to dive into full spoilers on these. So if you haven't seen them, you're about to be ruined on them. We're going to talk about them in detail. 3, 2, 1, full spoiler zone.
There was a mining disaster. It's horrible.
There was a mining disaster.
Everybody's face turned
There
green.
was an army of baby Yodas. They just and they all had lightsabers.
It turns out back in the day,
And there was 50
Yodas were everywhere.
Ran wild.
There were 50 clones of Luke Skywalker. It was crazy. Guys, that didn't happen.
No, none of that.
But what did you think of Andor?
Man, first of all, as I was watching this show, of course, I was looking up who some of the actors were that I was recognizing and whatnot. And I was like, I think I've seen this person in this, that, or the other thing. Loved how many Scottish accents there were in it. I've really been waiting for representation of Scots in the galaxy, and this show really gave me everything I wanted on that front. But what was coming up, of course, because the episodes had just dropped, was a lot of the other trades and publications and their reviews. And one of the headlines was something like, it's Star Wars without any Star Wars. And so far, it's very un-Star Wars. And I mean that in a good way.
Sure.
In that it takes place within Star Wars canon, within the universe that we have established in Star Wars, but it doesn't feel beholden to what I think people expect kind of tonally from Star Wars. It is not funny. It is very much a kind of dark spy thriller. There's a scene where characters make out in a way that implies that they absolutely had sex immediately.
This is the Star Wars that F's got.
I mean, this is the Star Wars where people get laid.
The opening scene of the entire show is in a brothel? That's our very first Star Wars brothel ever.
But after he walks through like the red light district.
Yeah, he's in the red light district of that planet, and then he goes in. And at first I was like, wait, what is it? This isn't a bra. Is it like a Star Wars strip club? What is this? It is a Star Wars brothel.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You can buy the playset soon.
Yeah, coming to Batu. Check it out in Batu next year.
The Lego set for this is going to be great.
It's gonna be great.
Wow, that's crazy. That's how you know right away. Like, they're going their own way with this one.
Yes.
I really liked it. I feel like we've been saying for a long time that the Star Wars universe is big, diverse, varied, has enough depth that it could sustain different genres, different styles of storytelling. And yet, we've been saying that. And then there are counterexamples. Star Wars Visions, I thought, did a good job of like doing something very outside the box. But typically, we tend to come back to the same kinds of stuff, the same kinds of stories, the same kinds of epic dual storytelling, samurai, Western style conflicts. And it is nice to see Tony Gilroy sort of throw that playbook away, set it within a recognizable Star Wars universe. But I was saying before the show, it's almost a little Michael Clayton-y. Like, you get a little bit of like corporate malfeasance behind the scenes, like different takes on things like corporate security and how to run these organizations and these private armies and these kind of contrasting, conflicting orders and this sort of empire and as an organization, as a business and as an organization. And man, that is cool. And we haven't seen that before. And I really dig that's his vibe.
Yeah, for people who don't know, I mean, Gilroy is probably best known as the writer of most of the Bourne movies, but he wrote and directed Michael Clayton, which is an excellent film.
It's great.
Yes, and I haven't seen it in a while, but I did see what you're talking about.
Well, because it's got like Tom Wilkinson and George Clooney are they're both like lawyers and corporate fixers behind the scenes, but with very different ideas about how to do the job, and their conflict is sort of reflected in this show.
Yeah.
In that early scene where you've got the leader of the sort of corporate security force who's like, just sweep this under the rug, call this an accident. I don't want it on my stats. And the younger guy's like, no, we got to go find the perpetrators.
Yeah.
And, like, I thought that was a really interesting conflict to sort of bake into the show.
No,
very different for Star
Yeah, I loved that interaction specifically because, again, it did really put it in a different genre than we usually see in Star Wars. And also the thing that I love is this juxtaposition between this corporation and also the Empire, and how the corporation kind of just wants the Empire to leave them alone.
Yeah. Well, a lot of Star Wars treats stormtroopers like cops, but they really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
If they're like the army of the Empire.
Right. Well,
and this is like, no, this is actually local police.
Yeah.
And they have to deal with the Empire on one side, and then their jurisdiction on the other.
And it's a cool thing. Take note of the time code, because I don't often praise Solo. But one thing I do like that Solo does is how it sort of explores a little bit like what the relationship was between these like criminal cartels and guilds and the Empire. And this is kind of doing that for big companies. And anytime you can spider out in that way and like really fill in the gaps of, here's a piece of our understanding we never had about how the Empire really took over the galaxy and established this level of control that we see by A New Hope. And this is really kind of digging into that in a cool, thoughtful way.
Yeah,
it's really neat.
I really like the vibe of this and the feel that it is doing its own thing. I think that, while Star Wars at its core is, probably is, it's meant to be sort of like a family-friendly thing. It's like, this is a fun, I know that's a weird word to say with this. This is an interesting way to go with a different story, with this side story that isn't as beholden to all of like the stuff at the center and the lightsabers and the cool stuff, but like this can tell its own story, doing its own vibe completely. And from the second it began, and I was the same way along, and I was like, oh, they're going into a brothel, and then also it's like,
whoa, really? All right.
And what is clearly a mirroring of like the first time we meet Cassian in Rogue One, he does kill someone in cold blood who's like his guy, but he needs to keep him quiet.
Right.
And here he kills two people, but it's actually even worse because it's not even like for the greater good. It's just kind of like, oh, I screwed, like these guys were going to rob me, but then I screwed up, accidentally killed them. Yes, I got to kill the other one.
Right.
And so it's really like, he's almost like, because I wondered if this would mirror Han Solo too much. Like, oh, well, he's reluctant to get involved. And there is going to be a little bit of that, but he's much more of a darker character from the outside. He's not a lovable scoundrel. It's like, he's,
and I appreciate that about Cassian as a character, is he is complicated and messy, and certainly as he stands right now, falls into a bit of a moral gray area, he's very much only looking out for himself in a way that I really believe that he's looking out for him, with like a hint of caring about his adopted mother.
Yeah. It's just, I think there's a confidence of storytelling here that you see from a guy who's very experienced. He's written a lot of films and shows, and just is like, I'm going to bring you with this guy. I don't have to make him super likable right off the bat. I'm going to bring you with him anyway. I know this is a good Diego Luna's great. I'm a good writer. We're going to tell this story in a compelling way. You don't have to love him right off the bat. And because it would have been so easy to shade that encounter with those two guys that he ends up killing in a way that, well, he had no choice. You could have tied his hands. Yeah. And they didn't really. It's like, well, you could have just given them this 300 credits and they would have gone away. Like, you are kind of on the hook for this. And I like that he did that. And it's a bolder choice that tells us more about who this guy is.
And actually, an even better thing I liked about it was that, because there's the version you're talking about that makes it more like easy and clean, and I like that they like you said, they didn't.
Right, you could have softened him.
Right. I even like that when the first guy is accidentally killed, his partner seems really upset. Like, even though this guy's a scumbag, like, it's like, oh no, my buddy, like, in a way that like humanizes him in a moment before he's about to die.
And again, going back to that conversation that Lon was talking about with like the guy in charge of security and then his underling, who's clearly going to be one of our main antagonists.
Right. Yeah.
In that conversation, the guy who's like in charge of the corporation mentions what a piece of shit the guy is, the guy. Like,
yes, no, it's very true.
He's like, I can't believe he wasn't killed sooner.
Yeah.
He
By
sucked.
the way, you just reminded me, because you said the word first use of shit in Star Wars. I rewound that. I was like, did I hear that right?
Yeah.
Yes. So all the kid gloves are off, guys.
I mean, look, we say, that's like the common refrain, and the thing people always argue about on the internet is like, Star Wars is for kids. Oh, this is just kid stuff. But at this point, it may like, the first Star Wars movie came out before I was born, and I'm an old man.
Yeah.
So Star Wars is for everybody. There are so many adults who enjoy it. It would be silly to not ever make content with those people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's inevitable that this was going to happen.
I think we're all going to have a lot of praise for this show. I will say one concern I had about this show when I watched the screeners initially was the first 2 episodes. I didn't love structurally as a TV show. They did something that a lot of early Netflix did, which was kind of the formless.
Yeah.
It's all one big story.
Yes.
And the way episode 1 and 2 ended was very strange and anticlimactic, and it made me think this is a big reason they're showing the first 3 together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Because
this,
if they aired separately 3 weeks apart, I think there'd be a lot of, especially second week.
There'd be a lot of fall off. The other thing is I think that these 3 episodes to me felt like one story.
Yeah, I thought they should have actually been edited together. When
Yes.
I was at that. You just made the point I was about to. Which is,
Yeah.
I honestly think that what Disney plus their whole philosophy seems to be like, look, we're not making conventional TV shows. We'll dice them up like TV shows so it looks format-wise like a TV show.
Yeah.
But it's really like each thing is its own thing, and you just kind of take it on its own terms. And I feel like they should almost even go more like,
Yeah.
okay, it's a TV show, but the first episode is 90 minutes.
Well,
like,
exactly.
just do that. This is one episode.
It's because to me this felt like, because you know how sometimes this is more common in like anime where there is a movie that sort of sets the premise
yes.
for the series.
That's exactly what this is.
And that's exactly
Yeah.
what these 3 episodes were. They set the premise. The story hasn't actually begun
No,
yet.
the first episode on its own is not a sufficient pilot. It doesn't give you enough information. But these 3 together, that's your pilot. Now I know exactly what the premise of this story is. We've got the full backstory. We know what's motivating them. We know who our heroes are, who our villains are. Now it's a show.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because the second, I thought a lot about that with the second one, especially because the second one on its own, if it aired as the second episode a week from now, I think there'd be a lot of like, what's happened? Nothing's happening here. Because the second episode is like, yes, we meet Luthen, Stellan Skarsgård. He's sitting on like a bus, basically talking to a guy.
Yeah, he's on his commute. Yeah.
I actually truly rewound that scene because I was like, wait, am I supposed to get some important information about
Right.
Stellan Skarsgård here? No.
No, and Bix,
He's here.
We learned Bix is having casual sex with her coworker.
Yeah.
But it's all like I really like that the show is taking its time, but I do think if they presented it that way, it would have been a little.
Yeah, and there's no reason not to. Like, they don't have to be, it's a 12 episodes. Like, you're not doing, it's not ABC. Nobody is fooled.
Yeah.
Like, just make it the show that you're making and make the episodes however long they need to.
Yeah. So I'm curious going forward. Structure-wise, how will it feel week to week?
It's like what Stranger Things is doing now. It's like, this one's 2 hours. Deal with it. It's like, look,
Why not?
Vecna's a little talkative this week.
We're gonna be in Russia a little longer.
We'll be here a while. Settle in. They got to escape and then go back to the prison. I don't know.
Let's talk a little bit more about the characters we talked about, Cassian. I do want to say, to me, the standout is Cyril Karn. That's Kyle
yes.
Solomon's character. He's our antagonist
Guy
for
rules.
now.
He's great.
I don't know this actor. I was looking him up. He's an American actor living in England who's done a lot of stage and some British TV stuff.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of Kyle MacLachlan and Garrett Dillahunt merged together.
You know who he reminded me of? Because he's giving really good Weasel. Is the white guy who dances in the dancing competition with him in RRR.
Oh,
They've got that same like weaselly, like British, like, "Ugh, I don't like this guy right off the bat.
And it's funny because one of my favorite Star Wars villains had been Krennic, who was fascinating for sort of how like he was a middle manager who wanted more but couldn't get it. And I think it seems like Gilroy, who obviously came in, he has a co-writing credit on Rogue One because he did all the rewrites, but when they did the reshoots. But yeah, it seems like it's another thing where it's like, okay, this obviously Cyril Karn is not going to be trying to be the Emperor or anything.
No.
He's trying to like.
He's trying to be the best at his current job.
Just do
Which
his
is-
you know what I
job
mean?
I'm doing it one more time. Tilda Swinton and Michael Clayton. That's her character.
I don't think he has big ambitions.
No,
I think he just wants to prove that he is a company man.
Exactly.
He wants to deliver, but then it's like, oh man, like the moment when like he can't give the rousing speech well.
Yeah.
He doesn't rouse.
It was so funny because
great.
in his introduction, when he's in that office, one of the things that his superior says to him is, "Have you made modifications to your uniform?" Or like he had it tailored and added some piping. I mean, my immediate thought was, was like, oh yes, here's a gay storyline, but you know that's perhaps unfair. There are straight men that care about their appearance as well.
Yeah, I love that character. Like, I love the idea of like, yeah, just we're not going to focus on like the super maniacal villain.
No.
It's gonna
Right.
be like,
We're so used to in Star Wars it's like, you killed my whole family. I have sought vengeance across the stars. And it's nice to have it. It's like he's worked hard to get this job and he really wants to do a good job and impress everybody.
we should close this case properly.
Yeah,
you know?
like he's just a bureaucrat through and through. And those people exist in the real world and in Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know?
Anyone else character-wise jumping out to you so far?
I like Marva because I like Fiona Shaw because I watched Harry Potter growing up.
Sure.
It's really nice to see Aunt Petunia play a nice character. And I'm curious because we did get a little bit of a flashback to Cassian Andor as a child on Kenari and how she came in and rescued him from whatever was going on with the mine thing. We still don't really know the full story of everything that happened. We're getting it in bits and pieces in a flashback. And at this point, I don't think we have a full understanding of exactly what her role was at that point in her life when they found him.
Right.
And what because it feels like she's got a connection to like the larger picture of what's going on perhaps with the rebellion and whatnot.
Well, there's a little bit of confusion. I mean, not a little bit, a lot of confusion that they'll hopefully fill in about. We hear that like everyone on that planet died from, what was it?
A mining accident?
Yeah.
But last we knew, it's like little Cassian sneaks into that ship while all of his friends and family like leave, but then it's like he just takes off with Marva.
He doesn't do so willingly.
No.
But Marva
He
says
gets kidnapped, basically.
they're going to come back to that planet and kill everybody to
Right.
cover up what happened.
So basically, is it like, it's like she saved his life by doing that, and meanwhile, we're to assume everyone got killed, but we know his sister escaped. His sister became a prostitute.
I feel like
So-
over the course of season 1, we will probably follow like he got some piece of information that you've thought for years your sister was dead,
Right.
But now we found out she got off the planet too, and that's what's motivating him to start this search for her.
Yes.
Right.
That would be my guess as to what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's got to be something like that. I also really like Fiona Shaw, and it was fun. I did have the thing like, oh, is she like gotten really old? And it's like, oh no, they made her like
they made
aging her up.
old.
Yeah,
her up,
aging her up.
and then there she is being much more vivacious.
What she actually looks like.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Stellan Skarsgård is on quite a. He's in all of our favorite fictional universes
I know.
at this point. It's Dr. Eric Selvig, Baron Harkonnen. Unstoppable season for Stellar Skateboard here.
Stellar Skateboard.
That's what they call him on How This.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't make that up.
I like Stellan Skarsgård in this show because, again, I think that it was just for me coming on the tail of Dune, being like, oh, it's nice to see Stellan Skarsgård playing like a protagonist.
Yeah.
I can't fully say that he's like a straight up good guy. I think that we're going to live in a lot of gray area, but he's on the protagonist side of things
he's got
here.
crazy range because he could play like a likable, eccentric, charming, like a Dr. Selvig, but then he could play really like Baron Harkonnen,
Really
or
evil.
the bad guy in Fincher's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Like he could go real dark.
That's what I was thinking of was him in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, he could be scary when he
Yeah.
wants to.
Yeah, and I really like him. And then it's like, he's got some fun. Like we said, like that second episode is so funny because it's like one of those things about, yes, it's not for people who want every scene to be about plot. It is anything
It's not
but
plot.
that. But I like this moment that he has with this guy with this jaunty hat. We now have jaunty hats in Star Wars.
Yes.
That whole thing was
It uses him well because he's got, he's a guy we recognize. He's a guy that's got gravitas.
Yeah.
He plays a lot of heavies. He plays, so like he comes in and immediately without even knowing who this character is, you're like, oh, this is an important guy. This is a guy who's gonna like he's one to watch. Like this is significant, and it's just like a good way to sort of use him. I
think in general, like that was. As you say, Eric, they didn't have a good structure as far as being a television show because, again, it feels like they just chopped this up to make it into 3 episodes,
Right.
where
This feels
it's actually just one 90-minute episode.
A lot like a movie.
But what I think it does really well is it does take its time really establishing tonally what this series is and what this world is like, and I do like and appreciate that because it does it so confidently that you just trust that you're going on this journey.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Very much so.
100%. Yeah, it was weird because it's like, the first one ends on this really odd note, which is just a flashback where little Cassian's saying goodbye to his sister and wondering.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what the story they're telling, the vibe of it just really works and sort of like grabs you.
And we tend to open these shows too with like action set pieces, like you're gonna see lots of lightsabers and laser fights or whatever, and this one opens on a character beat, and it's giving you more of that right off the bat of like, here's what the show is, and it's not like every other Star Wars thing.
Yeah. And even like when I was saying, because with Cyril Karn, for instance, it's like at first I was like, wait, is like kind of realizing like, oh, he's not the Empire, but it's like just more about how does this galaxy actually exist under the Empire, you know?
And just how little. I mean, there's a great moment. It's episode 3, probably when the security force lands on Phoenix and they're fanning out, and they're those guys. It's Brasso and that team, and they're like, what are those dudes? What are the blue suits doing here? And they're like, oh, they must be arresting somebody. It's like for the lay people on a random planet, you wouldn't be constantly seeing enforcers or cops or stormtroopers. And like that'd be very hands off. They're the central control, you know?
Yeah. We get the idea that these guys, this is their region, and they don't have the manpower or the time to be like, in every little town all the time.
Right. It would be like if you were walking down the street and like a Jeep pulled up and a bunch of soldiers got out of it. Like, I know these guys exist, but I don't expect them to see them on my street all the time.
Totally.
Right. And then I actually really liked the dynamic between Cassian and Bix. Again, we get the idea there was a little history there because this is the Star Wars at F's. But then, like she even leaving her, like again, what I was talking about with like, we get these like moments of like real like emotion and pathos. So it's like her boyfriend betrays her.
He does.
Yeah, but then she's so upset because
because he was
died.
kind of tablet. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things where obviously like she was mad that he betrayed her, but ultimately it's like he truly was this guy who was not involved in any of this. Like, when Cassian is asking her like, oh, hey, he doesn't know about any of what's going on, and that you're like, you've got this buyer and you're supplying him with stuff and basically working in the black market.
Right.
And she says, well, he would do anything for me. And Cassian very adamantly is like, no, but he doesn't know. And she's like, yeah, he doesn't know anything. But again, it's like he unfortunately decides to follow her when she vaguely is like, I gotta go run an errand.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. Not to get too into a digression here, but Rings of Power also this week deals with, we the audience know the Empire's the bad guys. Like for us, we come into every Star Wars thing like, no, don't join the Empire. The good guys are right there. But if you were a random lay person on the street, you might have more nuanced views of the Empire versus the Rebellion. You don't have all the information we Star Wars viewers have.
Yeah, you can't see the big picture.
Right.
You can only see from your own perspective.
They do it this week with Rings of Power, where guys like, whose weapon that is? It's Sauron's, and not everybody in Middle Earth immediately is like, Sauron. Well, he's the villain.
My God.
They all do spit takes immediately.
Yeah, this is the Second Age, so they're like, who? Oh, powerful elf. All right.
So I want to get into some of the AMA in a bit, what you guys are saying out there. Meanwhile, thanks for watching. We're trying, we've been doing some more videos. Ramping these stuff up.
Who doesn't like videos?
Who doesn't like videos?
We love videos.
We're going to be back here tomorrow talking some She-Hulk. We've got plenty going on with Twitch.
That is correct. On Thursdays, we have our Fandom Game Club. Right now, we're in the midst of playing Call of the Sea. On Thursday, last week, we had some technical troubles and couldn't get up and running. So we're only on chapters 3 and 4 of Call of the Sea. So you have plenty of time to catch up. You can either play the game yourself, watch the VOD. Bailey and I will be continuing that tomorrow. And then, speaking of Rings of Power, on Fridays, we do watch parties on Twitch. So basically, within Twitch, because Twitch is an Amazon company, it supports Prime Video. So all you have to do is log into your own Prime Video account when we have our watch party started, and you'll be watching the exact same feed that we are. So if we pause it, it will pause on your end as well. It has been so much fun. It is a really fun show to watch with other people. So please come hang out with us. That'll be at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Friday. Game Club is at 3 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday, twitch.tv/fandom.
Do it. Do it.
Nice.
Now we're actually going to bring in here from Wikipedia. Site I spelled it.
I know.
I know. We're going to bring in Jordan, a.k.a. Supreme Emperor. I don't know if we can trust him with that
I don't
name.
know. Seems shady.
Hey there, Jordan.
Hello, everybody. Very good. It's great to see you all again.
Nice to
Things
see you
are definitely more than a little bit chaotic over here right now. Given 3 episodes at once, that's a lot of lore to unpack.
I
That
think
is a lot
about
of
that.
lore
Like that,
unpack.
you guys like when is it like all hands on deck because trying to get everything updated and get all this information in?
Yeah, so it's somewhere between all hands on deck and oh crap, I'm stuck working today. Everyone, go without me.
Yeah.
You go, leave me behind. I'm never gonna make it.
So,
As I'm scrolling through the new pages, I'm seeing, oh, okay, they've already done this, they've got a stub for this, this is done. And I fully expect in the next day or so that it's just going to ramp up.
I already was glancing a lot this morning to get some of these names right, like Tim Karn being Bix's ill-fated
Tim
lover.
with 2 M's.
With 2 M's, yes.
We love a 2M Tim.
2M Tim, R.I.P. But Jordan, our lights are getting very
I
dramatic.
know.
There might be a disturbance in the force. Jordan, tell us, you've got a relevant sort of wiki page to spotlight here for the Andor premiere, right?
Yeah, so I figured this would be a fun one to showcase on here. This is Rashi's salvage yard. And while the article itself does still need some fleshing out, it's still a stub, it still needs a lot of work. I thought it was interesting that we've already had somebody come in and translate the Orabesh text on the front of this one single building.
Wow.
And that never fails to amuse me, that while everyone else is just watching the show, there's somebody that's just like, what's that text in the background there?
What does it
know what this says.
What does it say? What does it say?
So we got Salyard, ion conversion nodes, and no something in it, something ineligible.
Oh no.
Which was noted, although some of the characters were faded.
All right. That is like, yeah, I cannot translate Arabesh myself, so I am impressed by those who can. How's yours, Jordan? Do you know what
You
you're...
read Arabesh?
It is, to quote the article, it is ineligible. My Orabesh does not exist.
No shame at all.
No, I think that's pretty far. That's when you've gone pretty far.
As a Star Wars super fan yourself, Jordan, was there anything we talked about? Like, this was a show that was very not reliant on like a lot of like Easter eggy type stuff. Was there anything that leapt out at you about the 3-episode premiere?
I think for me, it was kind of the same things you had hinted at, that like, it starts out in a brothel, and at first I'm thinking, oh, is this just, some seedy dive bar in some backwater world? Oh no, we're going all the way here. We're going a different direction here, and you know what? It's interesting to finally see that.
I did think that the bar in the beginning looked kind of like the bar that you can go to really early on in Knights of the Old Republic, but then I was like, is it that it looks like that, or does it look like the similar bar in Mass Effect? I was like, I might be conflating my space video games here.
And then as he's walking through this like red light district, I'm thinking at first, oh, this is cool. This is an interesting way to display merchandise. Oh, that's not merchandise.
Oh, my goodness.
Well,
Debatable.
from a certain point of view, as one says in Star Wars. Yes.
In the next fact book.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think didn't they mention? I don't know if I'm saying it right. Mimban, the planet from Solo that he was like fighting on. I do believe there was a quick mention of that planet here. That was one of the only times that anything was like,
the Gonk droid, and then I think that was just about it.
I was very busy trying to figure out if I knew what the quote-unquote hounds were.
Right, yeah.
The dog
Pig
thing,
dog
the pig
things,
dogs
yeah.
that pee on the sweet droid or try to pee on the sweet droid.
B2 emo.
Yeah, we haven't talked about B2.
Do you know what those pig dogs are, Jordan? Do we know what those
No,
are?
I
yet?
haven't. I don't think we do offhand. I thought they looked kind of familiar at first, but I'm not catching anything off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
because
didn't
we've
think
seen
of it.
the Tusken Raiders have dogs.
Yeah.
There's not too many dogs in Star Wars yet, but
No.
we're getting there.
It's my biggest complaint, really, about Star Wars. Not enough dogs.
Not enough dogs.
They kind of droids kind of fill the dog role
kinda
in
do.
some ways. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan,
we just have to bring back the Legends thing that Luke Skywalker had a dog when he was growing up.
There you go.
There There it
Time
is.
to
I
bring
mean,
that back.
Filoni loves to layer in the legend
He
stuff,
does.
so that's very possible. I would not rule it out. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us, and I will be looking for more translations of signs.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Great to see you all again.
So let's leap in here to a couple of comments. Let's see. Darth Relum says it was different seeing the bad guys being completely unprepared in a Star Wars thing. Yeah, like, because again, these were like you were saying, it's like, I also think it's like, yeah, they were probably kind of out of their depth because not only are the locals not used to seeing them, they're probably not used to like,
They're not
No,
used to
no, it's so true. Like most of the time in Star Wars, you're seeing a scene, and whenever there's a bad guy influx of bad guys,
Right.
it's always that the good guys are escaping by the skin of their teeth.
Right.
They gotta hold them off through a blast door. But in this case, they were completely overwhelmed and out of their depth.
Yeah, and I like that Gilroy has made that plot specific. It's not just they're running circles around these like doofusy security guys. It's that at this point the Empire does not respect the rebellion. There is not an organized rebellion. They don't think of them as a real threat.
Yeah.
That comes later. We're seeing this early super confident Empire where they're like, we're in control of the whole galaxy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So they're not as focused on training all of these troops, and they're just convinced that they're going to overwhelm everybody and nobody's going to stand against them.
And even the moment when Tim Karn, R.I.P., gets killed, like it is legitimately like a guy, like a nervous guy kills him, and the reaction is like, you got to get out of here. Like
Yeah.
it's like they're not all like ha 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 ha.
No,
like they're
no.
all like, oh crap, we just killed this guy. And so like they totally feel like they're.
I think he does that a few times to sort of reinforce that, like, we're used to seeing Star Wars that it's about soldiers and it's about during a war and it's about they're used to death being a factor in their lives, and this show is about just folks like they're not used to people being blasted and they're in front of them, and so he does that. If you like we were saying in the beginning too, when Cassian kills that guy and then the other guy freaks out, it's like these are not people who are accustomed to their friends dying like rebels in most of the shows and films that we're used to watching.
Yeah, and that's why why I really liked Bix. It was a very emotional moment. She performed it really well.
Yeah.
That it's like she just went through a lot with this guy, but that it's like seeing him shot down in front of him.
Right.
It's like,
You'd still be upset.
Yeah, no, she's right, and we kind of leave her like shell shocked. I mean, it'll be interesting now that Cassian has left this planet, but I'm thinking we haven't left all these characters behind.
No, definitely. Well, Adira, Joe, I forget her name. The Bix, the woman, the actress, my guy. She's been billed. She's one of the like 3 or 4 main figures from this show. They've been promoting her heavily, so I'm assuming she's gonna be part of this adventure in some way.
Yeah, and Fiona Shaw, because there's also like we can maybe see her a little more in the quote unquote present, but I think the flashbacks for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely not done with those flashbacks.
No.
Yeah.
Well, Bix, the actress, was also in what? Uncharted? She was in something else recently.
She was in Morbius.
Because
when I did the junket for Andor, a lot of the press talked about it was Morbin time. I was like,
that's right. She's
not
the
saying
one
that to her.
She gets her big moment right at the end, and then they do nothing with it.
Yeah, and they tease a sequel thing that'll probably never happen.
See her in Morbius too.
This is a better world for her. Everything's. I like her.
I like that I went for like one of the worst movies this year, and you were like, no, the worst one. Worse than that.
I would watch Uncharted many more times before I would
Uncharted, not good. Morbius, my God.
Really not good.
I like her a lot. I'm glad she's
great.
landed on her feet well here.
Yes, I'm glad she's moving up.
Yes. Jenna James says, when watching, not the Jenna James, James with the Z, when watching Andor, I can't help to think that tactical political drama is actually what is needed in the Boba Fett series.
Ooh.
I mean,
it's a good point, because I think
It is a good point.
I think what we were complaining about with Boba Fett was it kind of set itself up as like it's going to be like a crime drama.
And it really was not.
It's about his right, and then it had no actual interest in how a criminal organization would run at all. It was not about that at all. It was a very adventure, action, story, basic Star Wars kind of stuff, which fine. But I like, this is actually doing that, where it's really digging into the details of how does this system work, not just the superficial, tropes.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like, I think we've been driving this home a lot during this episode, is this idea that this truly is a genre that we have not seen explored to this level in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that like Boba Fett, because Boba Fett to me, it has been the weakest so far of any of these shows.
Agree.
And yeah, I agree that it's like the idea of him being like thrust into this position and what that would mean both for the crime syndicates but also the locals. There was a lot to dive in there, but
I wanted to see Boba Fett have to be a crime lord.
But he wasn't even interested. They kind of copped out on the most basic level of he didn't want to do crime. So like you can't that's a crime. Like, well, you're a criminal.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what the
there's been
conflict
so
is.
many crimes done in Andor already.
Yeah.
Like,
And that again was another thing that I appreciate that they brought up in that scene with our main boy here, Cyril Karn, with his boss. That his boss, he says, officially we don't have brothels.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Sex work's not actually legal here.
I think I said, by the way, Tim Karn. They were not brothers. It's Tim Carlo. Tim Carlo. That would have been a twist
Karn.
if he unemotionally watched his.
Tim
just really
Kano
like
is the guy who gets killed and only murders in the building.
In all fairness.
Also a Disney property.
Well, and also there's that character in this named Brasso.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to Brasso.
That's right.
If Steve Martin came in.
You guys know what this means. This takes the mystery to an entirely new level.
I think I mentioned when we talked about D23 Expo that it was very surreal hearing the Only Murders in the Building theme play at D23. But again, Disney, they will own everything. There you go. Alan Preslin mentions, we were talking about structure. I heard an interview with the writer, Tony Gilroy. Each 3 episodes were a linking story, so 1 to 3, 4 to 6, etc. And then a 2-episode story, but it all links together. I'm not sure, 100% sure. So we know for sure season 2, it's a weird structure because season 1 is 5 years before.
Right.
But then season 2 is going to be 3 episodes that are 4 years before, 3 years before, 2 years before.
Right, because they cover a pretty big span of time across this series.
Yeah, no, right. Well, the whole series is covering that 5 years, but I think season 1 he was saying is all going to be like one
year.
linear kind of chronological story, and then season 2 is going to jump around all the way up and then like basically lead us directly into Rogue One.
Yeah.
But I think you might be right, Alan, because also the reason they decided that they could structure season 2 that way is because they already had a director come in and do 3 episodes apiece for season 1.
Right.
So I do have a feeling the next 3 episodes will feel like their own little mini
story.
I'm just saying, like, they should just release them now. Like, I don't want to wait
right.
weeks between to see these stories.
I was going to say, I will say that I hope even if, yes, the next 3 episodes are kind of a whole story unto themselves, I hope it feels more episodic in structure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, these 3 episodes were straight serial.
Yeah, because that's like I mentioned Netflix just because like this happened a lot on early Netflix. Even a show I loved like Daredevil, it was very hard to think about an episode of Daredevil because they barely were structured like episodes.
Luke Cage is the one that stands out, where it's like an hour-long pilot and it's all in Pop's barbershop, and it's like every main character like comes in and out, and it's like the weirdest hour of TV and not anything like a pilot. I like that show. It's not a knock on the show, but it's a very unconventional way to do it.
They were all like, I'll be a character on the show. You'll be seeing more.
It's just, it's really chaotic for a pilot. It almost feels like it's more about Pop's barbershop than Luke Cage.
Right.
And it's like, but that's not a show.
Yeah. They can make a barbershop.
He's great. Listen, who doesn't?
Darth Rellum throwing some shade here, saying that this show doesn't have that Sesame Street vibe that everything Star Wars has, including Mandalorian because of Grogu. I mean, here's where I'll say, like, I saw someone on Twitter say something similar about, like, I hope this is a really good show so far, but I'm not like, this is what all Star Wars should be, because like Muppets are a part of Star Wars.
Yeah, it's
like,
not what all Star Wars should be. It's what
Right.
Andor should be, because it's a TV show that gets to be its own thing.
Yes.
I will say, I loved that. Remember, there's the scene, I don't remember exactly what episode it was in, when he is getting shaken down by that guy who he borrowed money from, and he's like, oh, I want my deposit back.
The guy who brought muscle.
I loved the muscle. That creature design, that like character puppet costume looked so good.
It looked great, I mean, look, I don't think any of us are saying we don't want anything family-friendly, fun, silly in Star Wars. No. It's we were talking before the show about those Lego cartoons that are fun. Like, there's room for all of it. I think that's the point, is like it's a diverse enough setting that you could put all kinds of different stuff for all sorts of different age ranges in there. It doesn't have to be one thing or the other.
100%. And, oh, we mentioned two things I remembered I wanted to mention is you mentioned Brasso because his name's Brasso.
Yeah.
We all need a friend like Brasso, man, because that guy was covering.
It's a good guy's willing to be an alibi when you like maybe have done a murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were hanging
it's
out. No
true.
problem.
And then
Don't worry
like
about
really
it, bro.
goes like he's like into the improv. He's like, no, and now right
know.
now.
Yeah.
He really yes-anded Cassian's story
Andor.
the night before.
Yes, and Andor.
And what was this week's best and or moment? That should be a
Terrible way to do improv.
Yes.
You don't Andor anybody.
and then also we should mention that this show begins. Now, Rogue One kind of broke the paradigm of Star Wars because it didn't,
an
didn't have
opening
the scroll,
crawl.
Right.
and then it actually put what planet we were at when we went there.
Yeah.
This show does a couple things. First of all, the closing credits don't use Star Wars font. No blue font at the end.
I didn't even think about that. You're right.
And it also, for I think the first time ever in live action, maybe some of the comics have done it, but it begins with the BBY5 on camera.
Yes, I did notice that.
For the Battle of
timeline.
Yavin.
We're formalizing the
The Star Wars
chronology, the timeline.
Yep.
Which was almost like a fan created thing at one point. And then,
it wasn't it? I
It was just
thought
like,
was.
how do we manage time
Well,
in Star Wars?
I don't think
and that-
Lucas made that.
There is a whole timeline on Wikipedia that chronologizes all of Star Wars and is constantly being updated, and it's so good. I use it all the time, to figure out where we are in Star Wars.
We don't have a good sense for how they're keeping track.
That's
of
the
time,
thing.
right? That's how we keep.
That's how
track.
we keep track of
But
it.
they're not like time started over at the Battle of Yavin.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it would be funny if they did, right?
Yeah, like
we've never done a good job of keeping track. So
We should
maybe-
just start now. This is zero. This is zero right now.
The
Okay.
Death Star blew up. That's it.
And we'll count backwards, and then afterwards.
I like it. Should just be like Yoda's idea, like new calendar. Should we start?
Oh, that's gonna be a moment in one of these shows.
Yeah.
I present.
Oh man, Chapek's watching this right now. Like, this is brilliant.
What does BBY mean? And then we'll get the whole explanation. And then let's mention briefly before we end a little bit more about a B2 emo because
Yeah, he was so cute. I love a droid. And I think that they did a really nice job of having a cute droid character that didn't feel incongruous with the tone of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He's kind of a mess too. Everyone's kind of a mess.
And then you see him in the
Yeah.
flashback and he wasn't a mess and it's a little bit of an
I know,
awe
what
moment.
happened
It's like-
to him?
I have so much respect for any writer who's got to come in at this point 30 years after, 40 years, to be like, invent a new way of making a Star Wars droid charming. You've got
Yeah.
very little to work with. They all kind of look similar.
Yep.
They make the same kind of sounds. They got the same kind of names. They can have a personality, but, they can't have too much of a personality. And, like, within these parameters, writers keep somehow coming in and coming up with these really charming, likable, compelling characters. And every time I'm, like, blown. Like, BB-8's amazing. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
like to do something like that, create something like that out of thin air, and then this one to B2 emo, I thought was great. It's like they feel like characters, and there's so little to work with.
Exactly, totally, and also then of course I'm now very nervous for him because we know when
not in
we know when
Rogue
season 2 K2SO is
No,
gonna come
K2
in.
is going to be there.
And so,
Yeah. Well, any character in this who's not in Rogue One, you're like,
Any character that's in this that is in Rogue One.
yeah, well, right. Things don't go
also
well in that
not-
one either, but
Not going to go great for
And
them.
I'm and by the way,
like Stellar Skateboard, not in Rogue One.
this is not me saying 3 episodes into Andor it's as good as Better Call Saul, but I will say that Better Call Saul, having just been a great example of how do you have stakes with a prequel, like basically to like
Yeah.
prove everything wrong about saying we can never feel that invested in a prequel. It's like, no, you can.
No, you can.
It's like I like that only because it's a good template as this show begins because
Yeah.
we only know a couple characters we're going to see
Look,
in Rogue One.
We are
so.
living in prequel town, USA right now.
Yeah.
We got House of the Dragon. We got Rings of Power. We got Andor. We know what's going to happen eventually
We're checking
to
out
everybody.
Yeah, we're checking out before the before time.
Just make
We're
them
deep
good
into the
stories
before
along the
time.
way.
Good stories. That's all you need.
But before we wrap you, I saw
I
you looking
know.
at
Okay, so I really like the score of this. And
Yes.
so Nicholas Britell, who is the composer on this, is the composer of the TV show Succession. And he also worked on a lot of Barry Jenkins films like Moonlight and If
Yes.
Beale Street Could Talk. And yeah, it occurred to me when I was watching the 3rd episode that I was like, I really am enjoying the score in this. It was non-obtrusive. It wasn't like in a way that was really in my face, but I was like, yeah, I'm vibing with this, and so I decided to look up who composed it.
No, thank you. I forgot to do that, so I was very happy you did that.
And I was like, oh, I am familiar with his work, and that is great. He also worked on the Disney film Cruella, which was so much better than it had any right to be.
Cruella. I'm pro Cruella.
Yeah.
I keep telling my wife to watch Cruella, by the way.
Kind of great.
Yeah.
It's about 20 to 30 minutes too long, but it's a fun ride.
I definitely recommend going back. We all have Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And watching 101 Dalmatians.
The Glenn Close one?
No, I was going to say the Disney cartoon. Also watch the Glenn Close one. But making a prequel to 101 Dalmatians. 101 Dalmatians is maybe the craziest animated film in the entire Disney catalog. It's bizarre.
It's so strange.
And it's really fun to watch it after you see Cruella because they actually are tied. They're really doing a lot to tie them together. And 101 Dalmatians is so bananas that to have that as your assignment, like make a prequel to this.
Y'all,
like, oh my God.
I hope there's an
The first third of it is just about dogs dating. Like
Yeah.
that's the first third of that movie.
Of actual 101
Yeah,
Dalmatians.
Yeah, the actual, it's about these two dogs fall in love, and then they're like, we should force our owners to also fall in love.
Yeah.
And like, that's the...
Literally, we are going to wrap them up in leashes and
it's like
tie them physically together.
It's a parent trap with dogs for like the first half. And then it becomes, the dogs get, kidnapped, obviously. And then it becomes all of these dogs that think they're in the military sending signals to one another. Like, oh, I'm a general, but a dog, and they're over there. Like, what is this movie?
Yeah.
Cruella's in like 3 minutes of it.
Yes. The other thing I will say about the movie Cruella is it really embraces how wild 101 Dalmatians is and goes with that. This is a big spoiler, so if you haven't seen Cruella, just
Get
mute
out
us
of
for
here.
a hot
We warned you
second.
about Andor spoilers, but there's also
Cruella spoilers, which is to say that Cruella's mom gets killed by Dalmatians
She does, yes.
in the beginning of the movie, and I saw it in a movie theater. Naturally, it was a full movie theater, by the way. Everyone starts cracking up because the scene is so ridiculous. And then you just hear this little voice from somewhere down in the front of the theater go, "It's not funny."
I mean, it happened to her mom.
But actually, it's really funny.
It's pretty funny.
Anyway.
I now envision, by the way, that in Burbank at the Disney Studios, there's like just a prequel department. They're just like, this is our department. We're developing them. We're doing them all.
Mufasa, the lion.
That's
king.
right.
Wait, did I hallucinate that there is actually going to be a Mufasa?
Oh, no.
Barry Jenkins is
Oh,
directing
yeah,
it.
that's
It'll
right.
probably have this composer.
With this composer, Nicholas Britell.
It's like a big,
Or Brittle, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Nicholas. I don't know how to pronounce
I think
your
it's
name.
Britell.
I think there's like very good
it's
chance he
Britell.
will be scoring that film.
Right.
Probably,
I've seen footage from it at T23. So
I
very
don't know.
strange.
I wish I was clever enough to make up Mufasa the Lion King.
Yeah, from Barry Jenkins.
Jafar.
I see no better way to wrap up than from Zeno Hour, who says, I haven't seen Andor yet. Just wanted to say hi. Okay, bye.
Hi.
Hi. And goodbye.
bye.
Thanks, guys. Farewell.
Bye.
Thanks,
Come back
Jordan, for joining
tomorrow.
us. Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you, guys.